Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video this morning. I hope you guys are doing really wonderful, and we're going to be taking a look at our systems out there across the Atlantic. We've got our hurricanes Lee and Margot, also a disturbance which is likely to develop into our next named storm within the coming days, and we'll also be talking about the Caribbean, the rainfall activity likely through today. And before I go into details, please do subscribe if you haven't yet done so, and tap the bell so that you never miss an important video. Okay, so let us get things kick-started looking at the Caribbean, and here we can see that there's not much happening across the basin right now. And so some of the activity in association with Lee is inducing some thunderstorms just offshore of Hispaniola, the southern part of the Dominican Republic. There we can see some of those thunderstorms, but for most islands there is not much happening this morning. As it relates to rainfall activity across the region through today, we're looking at this map coming from the Euro, and so the more colorful it becomes, the more rainfall activity is likely. So that's going to be the case for central and parts of northern South America, particularly Colombia and Venezuela. But as we head into Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, also through most of the Caribbean islands, also the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands, we're not seeing those colors. So that is indicative of less rainfall expected, maybe some scattered showers here and there, especially across northern islands. But for most areas, there isn't going to be much. So another hot and dry day up ahead. Now we're going to shift our focus to Lee. Here we have the hurricane just to the east of the Bahamas, and there you can see that it is a powerful hurricane out there. It is still maintaining Cat 3 intensity, so it is still a major hurricane, and eventual weakening is expected. As we look at the cone forecast, there we can see Bermuda under a tropical storm warning, as the system is likely to approach within the next 36 hours or so at the closest. And because this wind field is growing, it is likely that those tropical storm force winds, potentially some heavy rainfall as well, and those rough seas are going to be occurring across the island. And those seas are particularly rough across most of the western Atlantic right now, so off the northeastern coast of the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, and east coast of the US. And then as Lee is going to be continuing its journey up to the north, it will encounter more unfavorable conditions, especially in terms of the surface waters out there. They're going to be a lot cooler as it increases in latitude. And so as it makes its way to parts of Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and even Maine, it is likely to become a post-tropical cyclone, still a dangerous situation. And then other areas, other northeastern states of the U.S., such as New Hampshire, heading to Massachusetts, Rhode Island, could even experience impacts from the system as well, because this is to track the center and not Lee's size. So there are likely to be some widespread impacts from this system. So eventually, as we head into the next day or so, there should be some tropical storm watches and eventual warnings in place. Now let's go ahead and move on to Margot. So Margot is still a Cat 1 hurricane. It's strengthened a bit since last evening with peak winds of 85 miles per hour right now. Those are the maximum sustained winds, and it is moving up to the north at 12 miles per hour. So it's going to be moving a bit erratic out there as we head into the end of this week, go into the early part of next week. And so now let's go ahead and move on to our disturbance. So as we take a look at the satellite imagery, here we can see that we've got all these disorganized showers and thunderstorms out there. Nothing too impressive right now. However, as we head into the next couple of days, the conditions should be conducive to allow for all this activity to consolidate, and eventually we will likely see that next depression potentially by this weekend or early next week. And of course, the next name to be used is Nigel. So this is likely to become Nigel within the coming days. So again, conditions should be conducive out there. There isn't a whole lot of dry air out ahead of it. The shear is currently conducive, and as we know, the sea surface temperatures are off the charts for most of the Atlantic. So as we look at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, here we can see that the NHC is keeping that high chance of 80% of seeing something develop, and through the next 48 hours, it actually increased a bit up to 40%. So now in that medium range that we could see something form within the next 2 days. So let's see what's going to be happening with the system. And of course, I'm here to keep you guys posted on it. So there is some more agreement in terms of it staying out to sea. So as you look at the Euro Ensemble members, here we can see that the bulk of them are agreeing that this will stay out to sea but want to watch for potential impacts in Bermuda, there's that new cluster of members. So another tropical wave will be exiting the African coast, and once it does so in a conducive environment, then we could certainly see some development of it across the main development region. As we look at the GFS ensemble members, somewhat of a similar story here, that general agreement that, hey, we could see this system make its way out to sea, remain out there. We still want to watch for potential impacts to Bermuda, and these maps, they go out to the next 10 days. There can be changes with the system. It is still pretty far out, but there's that new cluster yet again, suggesting that we will see something else develop as we head into the latter part of the month. And so I'll be keeping you guys posted on all that is happening and all that is expected as time goes by. And that is pretty much it for this update. And I hope you found it to be quite informative. But if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll respond to you once I get the chance to do so. And as always, remember to be otherwise.